Okay, so here's how to stay motivated to do the work as an O-level student so that you don't procrastinate until like 8, 9, 10 p.m. before actually starting your work. So why should you trust me? Um, I used to procrastinate a lot on my work and I always ended up like doing some random ass Chinese essay at like 12 a.m. and I was still on like the first paragraph by then. So and I did a few things that basically increased my motivation to do the work as an O level student, and I ended up with a raw 7 L1 R5 and net 3 for my O levels, which I know not impressive. It's not a raw stakes, so I still suck. But I believe that I do know a thing or two about motivation. So I promise that after watching this video, you'll be able to increase your motivation as a Singaporean secondary school student. I'll tell you how motivation works in my opinion and a few exact things you can do. So, by the way, my name is Isaac and I help O-level students get single-digit L1 R5s without sacrificing their free time and happiness through my videos. If you've watched me before and you want me to help you start getting A1s in 90 days while studying less, scroll down and click the top link in the description below right now. And I'll make sure that you never have another morning when you wake up sleep deprived because you had to do your homework or you're studying until like 2 a.m. And now your parents are trying to wake you up for school but you keep falling back asleep because of how tired you are. If you don't want to have another one of those days, then click the top link in the description below right now. So, motivation comes from three things, I believe. Number one, dissatisfaction. Number two, your environment. Don't mind my handwriting. I don't care about it. And number three, passion, or love, or enjoyment, or whatever. So, of course, there's other things like dopamine, but these are the three big ones. So, part one, dissatisfaction, and also self-belief is related to dissatisfaction. So, you only take action if you are unsatisfied with your current position in life. That's the truth. If you are happy and satisfied and content with where you are in life, you're not gonna change anything. So it's the feeling of discomfort, of lacking something which you want, that drives a person to change themselves. So basically, the difference between your self-identity or slash your goals and where you are now, which is reality. This difference right here is dissatisfaction. So, this is why self-identity is so important, because your position in life will naturally gravitate, your reality will naturally gravitate towards over here, because there's a difference right here, there's a dissatisfaction, there's a discomfort, and so you'll naturally get motivated and take action and improve. But for many people, their self-identity is actually their self-identity is actually down here. It's not that far from their reality. And they don't have goals, they have dreams. So they gravitate towards the same position, basically the same position they are already at. Which brings me to self-belief. Because ultimately, what determines the position of your self-identity, which in turn determines the future trajectory of your life, is your self-belief. It's a sort of ego, the sort of arrogance that you have about your goals. Imagine a student who ends up with 30 L1 R5 in their Sec 3 EOY exams. But he still secretly believes that he can get a single digit next year. His reality is here, and his self-belief and identity is all the way up here. This is the single digit is up here. Look at this amount of dissatisfaction. He's gonna be working hard as fuck, right? But I know you're probably thinking, wait, that just sounds like complacency. He's probably not gonna work at all. And this is where it has to get a bit complicated, because in order to succeed, you need to have this dissatisfaction. And this dissatisfaction comes from having that self-identity, that level of ego or arrogance that, yes, I can succeed, I can definitely get a single digit, but you also need to have reality checks of where your current self is, of where your reality is. Because self-identity is one factor that contributes to the level of dissatisfaction. But this guy over here, the reality, your current self is also a factor. So if you are completely delusional and you think that you are already here, when your brain thinks that this guy is over here instead of where it actually is, that's when complacency happens. So you need to have some self-confidence and arrogance and ego, and at the same time you need to be able to be humble and know your place basically, and be driven by the fear of possibly not getting to where you want to be. So how do you maintain this balance? A good way is to set long-term, reasonably unreasonable goals. So instead of in 1 month I'm gonna get raw 15 L1R5, your goals should be like in 1 year or in half a year I'm gonna get raw 6 L1R5. So basically set your goals quite high, not unrealistically high, but high enough that you're gonna have to work hard for it, and also make the time frame large as well. So what you've basically done is you place this guy up here, creating a lot of dissatisfaction, but you're also not being completely delusional because you set quite a large time frame to close this gap, like 1 year or half a year, so that's actually realistic. And so you'll be like, yeah, I can do it, no problem. And you'll also be like, oh shit, oh fuck, I need to do it at the same time, which is a really good place to be if you want to see progress. So an actionable step you can do right now is to write down your goal on a piece of paper. Like, for example, get single digit L1R5 by 2025 for my O levels, and literally stick that goal on your bedroom wall so that you see it every time you wake up. Another way to create dissatisfaction is to look at people who are better than you in the area that you want to improve in. So, of course, if you're watching this video, I'm assuming the area you want to improve in is academics. So you can look at all those smart kids who are studying less than you and still getting better grades than you. But at the same time, be somewhat arrogant when thinking about them. Don't be like, oh, I can never be as good as them. Be more like, yeah, I can do much better than them. I can get the grades that they want if I work hard. This can also be applied to other areas as well. If you want to get jacked, train with guys bigger than you. If you want to get good at boxing, spar with guys who have 10 years more experience than you, etc, etc. So this reaffirms your self-belief and keeps you dissatisfied because you know it's possible to get to where you want to get to because there are people who are at where you want to get to. And now I know what you're thinking. Okay, great. Dissatisfaction and all, but this is only going to motivate me to study harder. What about homework? Which is not really studying. By the way, that's an incorrect belief. Homework does actually help you study. 90% of my studying when I was in secondary school was basically listening class plus homework. I believe that homework is like your teachers coming up with a sort of study plan for you so that you don't have to do that much studying on your own. And now the teacher's studying plan might be like flawed and whatever, but you're forced to do it, so you might as well just follow it and consider homework and studying. But anyway, if you want to have more motivation to do like those homework tasks like fucking Chinese essay or whatever, this is what you can do. So part 2 of the video, I'm gonna talk about your environment. So there's this concept that I actually came up with probably like a month before my O levels, which is the concept of productive and unproductive spaces. So basically, with the places that you are familiar with right now, your brain is conditioned to do certain things in certain places, and you'll naturally gravitate towards those things in those places. For example, ideally you're conditioned to listen in class when you're in the classroom, you're conditioned to be productive when you're at your work desk, and you're conditioned to be sleepy when you're in bed. But usually that's not the case, right? Many students are conditioned to look at their phones when they're in the classroom, and conditioned to look at their phones at their work desk, and when they're in bed they are conditioned to also look at their phones. So why is that the case? Because most of the time that they spend in that area, in that place, they spend actually looking at their phones. So chances are your work area, your study room or your work desk or whatever, has become an unproductive space because most of the time you spend there, you're not actually being productive, you're not actually working, you're looking at some social media app on your phone or some random ass website on your laptop and getting dragged into some, I don't know, Wikipedia rabbit hole or something. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. The other day I was supposed to study chemistry, but I ended up watching some Charlie Morgan video for 30 minutes. He was talking about like trauma and how it relates to success. If you haven't noticed, by the way, I'm literally copying his style of videos as well. But anyway, if your study space right now has become an unproductive space because you spend most of the time in your study space being unproductive, because you spend most of the time in your study space being unproductive, then naturally when you go to your study space to study, instead of studying, you'll naturally gravitate towards being unproductive, looking at your phone and whatnot, which sucks. So you have two options. Number one, become David Goggins and use all your willpower and discipline and force yourself to only be productive and study at your study space so that you can hopefully turn it into a productive space again. Or number two, just pick another place to use as your study area. That simple. And preferably is somewhere you're not very familiar with, like your local library or staying back at school to study. Cause no offense, but every area you are familiar with has probably become an unproductive space. Especially your house. Like same goes for me. So this is literally my best tip to beat procrastination. Literally, whenever I find myself procrastinating on some big task, like an essay, I always pack my bag and I will go down to this study room I have in my neighborhood. And also every day after school, I will stay back for 1 to 2 hours and make sure I finish all of my schoolwork in those 1 to 2 hours. Cause I know for a fact that the moment I get home and I'm tired and I just enter an unproductive space, I'm not gonna get jack shit done. So with this new space that you found, you can turn it into a productive space by pretty much only doing work there. And whenever you're not doing work, just find another place to do it. This can be your actionable step right now. Think of a place near your house or near your school or in your school even, or on the way back home from school that could become your new study area, your new productive space. It could be a library or a certain study space in your school or even your classroom. Just make sure it's somewhere quiet because focus is really important. And also, don't be afraid to experiment. If you realize that you know your school's quite noisy, you can't really enter a flow state there, just try out another place in your school or go to the library or something. One more thing, the commuting time is worth it. Trust me. If it's on the weekends, one of the things that may discourage you from using this strategy is that you have to commute to the local library or whatever, and you might think it's a waste of time. Trust me, it really isn't. Cause think about it, you spend like 5, 10, 30 minutes commuting there. But if you don't go there, you're gonna waste 1, 3, 5 hours procrastinating. So it's a good trade-off, okay? Part 3, passion. So passion is basically how much you actually enjoy doing the homework or the studying or whatever. So, which right now your passion is probably very little because I mean who the hell likes studying, right? And this is actually a big reason you have no motivation to study because you hate studying. No, like discipline is a good thing to have, but the truth is you need to love what you do as well. The fittest people love working out. The best businessmen love working on their businesses. Michael Jordan got so good at basketball because he loved the sport and was playing it like ever since he was a kid, and basically he couldn't stop playing it. Was it Michael Jordan or like someone? I don't know, but you get the point. You need to enjoy what you're doing to some extent in order to actually be motivated to do it and succeed in it. You need to make it as easy as you can to work as hard as you can. There's a quote by Alex Hormozy. So how do we get ourselves to enjoy studying? What worked for me was that I switched from reading the notes and the textbook. I switched from reading and I switched to doing practice papers. Maybe it's just me, but I really enjoy like doing things, answering questions, and kind of like getting into a flow state and being in the zone when I do my practice papers. And I just hate reading and quiz and recall, and it's just boring as hell and just not for me. So this really depends on what type of person you are. So here's an actionable step. You can do some journaling or ask yourself, how can I change the way I study, or what can I add and even subtract from my studying in order to make it more enjoyable? To make it such that I kind of start to look forward to studying, and you can try out different things and see which ones work. So I hope this video is valuable. Once again, if you want me to personally help you get A1s without sacrificing your free time, scroll down and click the top link in the description below right now, and I will make sure that when you report to school to receive your O-level results a few months or a few years from now, you'll see those A1s on your report card. So click the top link in the description below right now. Give me any criticism or feedback in the comments below, and I wish you a good day.